So that's Melbourne lockdown over, 5 days. Couldn't get onto it, it's gonna hurt us.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So quick update on our progress here. Our brake and fuel lines, they were a disastrous mess. So we've got our old fuel line here and you can see it's all shaped as wrong. Here it's crushed, it's destroyed. Even where the fuel hose went over, there's no barb or greater diameter to stop that blowing off. The brake line too here, it's had a fair life and it wasn't a great colour what come out of there, so it's a good time to update that. So we've got all new fresh stock here and all the tools to be able to put the steps on the end or the swages, whatever you want to call them. Other options I've seen guys do if you don't have that sort of tooling is getting olives and silver soldering on, just so it's got a step so when you clamp that down it doesn't blow off. So you can see we've got our new fuel lines here. One's a supply and one's a return. Return we're not going to use now, but since we made these, we figured we'd mirror it up. So we've got our fuel filter here. We've allowed this area, we can put a fuel pump in here later when we run in, say, a Holly EFI, which Ace doesn't know about. See these, we haven't flared these yet. The old fuel line that was in here that was a mess didn't have any flare on it. So we'll flare those up so it's actually got a bead that we can put a hose clamp on. And then we're going to have a flex joint here and that'll go to another hard line. It's the neatest way we could sort of do it. That cross member, which looks original Chev up there, that's got to go. You can see it looks like it's being welded on with an arc. We've got a new cross member to go there. We've got to cut that out. It's a bit of a pain in the ass when you've got the body on. Our great intentions were to lift the body off, roll the chassis out, but in this hustle to get to Sydney, it's not going to happen. We're going to cut that out. New cross member will go in there. So exhaust you can see up here too. We've started to string that out. We're a bit limited till we get the diff where it needs to sit with the suspension fully deflated and a new gearbox cross member. So we just sort of dummied our mufflers up. It sucks packaging mufflers in here when you're going to have a 4-link here. We're limited with height. It's not going to lay frame. Reality of not notching the chassis. It will still be off the ground though. So I'm going to get in and cut that sucker out. So we've got our headers poked out up here, ready to go, but this cross member's in the way. We're going to ditch that cross member. Good thing about this one, it's a bolt in here. Now the doctor's modelled a new one up here. You can see the clearance. The grey is actually the new one, and you can see how much more clearance. That's upside down. That's what we get in laser cut that will stand up, that'll bolt in. That's going to give us a heap of clearance up here. Hopefully we'll get our laser cutting possibly today, if not tomorrow. That'll be welded up on the weekend. We can put that in and then we can string our pipes out to our mufflers. But we thought we'll get all the fuel lines done first, so that's that locked in. We need to get our 4-link stood up and then we can join the dots as far as the mufflers go. But we've prefabbed all that stuff, the hangers, everything, flat packed, oversized, sort of ready to go. Tacked up what we can. So in here's the factory cross member. Must have been a gearbox cross member. I don't know what the config in this car was. A big chunk of steel hanging here which compromised all your pipe clearance. We've cut that out, so we've got a heap of clearance here where we can run our, I guess it's a 2.5 inch through with enough clearance that we're not going to smoke the passenger and driver's thongs with the rising heat. We'll also whack some heat shield on here just because we've got the opportunity. We're building the exhaust systems out of the car that will throw it under here. Usually, people complain about it gets hot, particularly in this area, and it's usually because that's where all this heat's pushing down under here. So we'll do that too, show you an easy way to solve that problem. Yeah, but you can't hold that solid and I can't get slop in the column, right? Ready?
Hold it solid.
Yep. No. That's the only slop I'm concerned about. So after years of abuse, this is the idler arm here and this is the bush that goes on it, which is fairly flogged out. We've got this Danchuck part, which is, they label it Paul means power steering, which actually does away with this, throw that away. And what you've actually got here is a couple of bearings. So we press in this shoulder, run those bearings, that goes on there, bolts up tight, and this is much smoother, so there's less resistance, I guess, on the rubber sort of binding up. The bit of slop that we had through the box and everything, warm bush, and a warm bush on here. So we'll replace this and see how it performs. I guess it's the most you can do before you sort of step up to a rack and pinion. Rack and pinion with these, you're going to struggle with clearance issues. Bump steer also. We're going to drive this thing low because it's bagged. So I have booked it in for a wheel alignment. The guy's going to be scratching his head. He did say, oh, is it standard? Yeah, it's bagged, we drive it fairly. Oh, well, that's gonna, mate, I know, but it's got to look cool. I'm happy to chew through tyres, but I'm driving it low. So let's not worry about where it is. Just dial it in the best you can. We'll worry about that. That's on Wednesday. What do we probably do that? Maybe 8 hours before we leave, I reckon.
It sound right, boy.